Hello everybody, welcome back to Beware the Terrible. So today we have a new deck in the standard format for you called the Candy Crush. So in Candy Crush we are featuring our Princess Bubblegum card from Rebel Clash. Hatterene has the Mindhead ability allowing you to discard one card from each player's hand every turn. If you have a Hatterene in play, if you have more than one Hatterene in play, you get to discard more cards per turn from each player's hand. But you only get to discard one though for each Hatterene. And the main focus on this deck, which is the Dripping Grudge attack. So we are focusing this deck on the Dripping Grudge attack, allowing you to place one damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon for each Pokemon in your discard pile. So it is a trick, it's very tricky. How do we place as many Pokemon in our discard pile as possible? How do we discard as many Pokemon as fast as possible to be able to knock out a Pokemon V or a Pokemon GX? So we won't be targeting any tag team or VMAXs with this card, with this attack, because it would be pretty much useless to knock out a VMAX. It's pretty much impossible to knock out a VMAX or tag team with Dripping Grudge one hit. You have to hit it at least twice. So we are not intending to for a one hit knockout of VMAX or tag teams. Just right off the bat, I'm trying to tell you that, because that is basically impossible. So we are trying to knock out Pokemon V or Pokemon GX at least 20 damage counters with Dripping Grudge, maybe add a few other damage counters some other way, Horror Energies or any damage counter placings or whatever. But basically we are trying to place at least 22 damage counters with Dripping Grudge as fast as possible. So how do we do that? We are trying to use our Critical Error GX to place as many, to discard 10 Pokemon cards from our deck. Because Critical Error GX allows you to search your deck for 10 cards and discard them, then shuffle your deck. So how do we use Critical GX attack? Because Porygon Z is a stage 2 Pokemon. So easy, we just use our Perfection ability from Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX from Unified Minds. So Mewtwo Mew allows you to use any attacks from any of your Pokemon GX or Pokemon EX on your bench, or in play or in your discard pile. So you get to discard Pokemon GXs and use their attack, meaning you get to discard meaning any Pokemon GX that ends up in your discard pile has a double effect, has the effect of adding damage to your Hatterene's Dripping Grudge, and also has the effect of allowing your Mewtwo to attack with that Pokemon GX's attack to land its power. So it's very important to discard Pokemon GX's fast in this deck, with this deck early in the game. So we have a lot of Pokemon GXs in this deck. We have a very wide variety of Pokemon, but not many cards in them. The amount of cards is very, very little. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's loose Pokemon GXs. So one Gengar Mimikyu GX, one Latios GX, one Jirachi GX, one Oricorio GX. We are not trying to land its power. We are only trying to use this for its ability, just like Dideen GX. We are not using Tingly Return or Razor Wing or Strafe GX. We are only using Dance of Tribute or DD Change. Dance of Tribute is not that powerful, but because we need Oricorio GX in the discard pile and we don't have any Giovanni's Exile. So to add those Pokemons, even if it's just one on our bench and not in our discard pile, to reduce one damage counter would be pointless, because you only get to draw 3 cards for every knockout your opponent does, and sometimes they knock out a 3 price cards, which is not useful. It's not worth it. I'd rather place a Dideen on my bench than Oricorio GX. So Oricorio GX is basically there just in case in the first few turns you don't have the right cards, just in case in the first few turns one of your Pokemon gets knocked out and you have a handy Oricorio GX in your hand ready to go. You can place it on your bench and draw 3 cards, because that is an extra way of drawing cards early in the game. It is only good for the first few turns, just like a Zacian V for a non-metal deck. For a non-metal deck, Zacian V can allow you to draw 3 cards, but you have to end your turn. Same thing for Oricorio GX, you get to draw 3 cards, but you have to have one Pokemon knocked out during your opponent's last turn, which is not a good thing, which we don't want to happen. But if it does happen and we have no choice but it happening, just like a Zacian V, if we have no choice but we can't attack, or we don't have enough energies to attack, or whatever, we have a heavy retreat cost Pokemon stuck in the active spot, then we get to use Zacian or Oricorio GX's ability, which is very handy sometimes. That is why we only have one of it though, because we don't want to be relying too much on it. So the main strategy of this deck is Critical Error, Dripping Grudge. The second strategy of making Dripping Grudge, boosting the damage counters in Dripping Grudge attack, is with our Hatterene GX. We have 4 of it, and our supporter cards. We have 3 Professor's Research and 4 Hapus. Hapus allow you to search your to select 2 cards from the top 6 cards from your deck, put it into your hand, and discard the other 4 cards. So Hapu allows you to discard 4 cards from the top of your deck, whereas Professor's Research and Hatterene GX allows you to discard your hand and draw more cards. And we also have a Duskull to allow us to discard more cards from our hand. So Duskull is only useful at the end of the game. Not at the end of the game, at a very late stage of a game, when you have almost decked yourself out, when you have very few cards left in your deck, and you can't be using any more Hatterene GXs, you can't be using any more Professor's Research or Hapus, because otherwise you would be decking yourself out. So Duskull would be useful then, because otherwise you would have to only rely on Minehead ability to discard Pokemon cards from your hand. Any leftover Pokemon cards you have in your hand that has not yet been discarded has no way of being placed, have no way of being dumped into the discard pile, except with Minehead ability and with Duskull's Spirit-Born Evolution ability. Or you can even discard it with a Great Catcher, but we're not intending on using that, because we're not intending on depending on our Great Catcher, because Great Catcher can be very risky as well. Great Catcher, you can't play Great Catcher unless they have a Pokemon GX on their bench, meaning you don't get to discard any cards from your hand if they don't have a Pokemon GX in play. And if they have a Pokemon GX in play, you have to watch out for their HP, because if they have only tag teams in their bench, then it might not be a good idea to use Great Catcher, because Hatterene is not able to one-hit knock out a tag team or a VMAX. Well, Great Catcher cannot pull out a VMAX, but you get the point. So we also have 2 Pokemon Communications and 1 Quick Ball to summon our Hatterene GX and our Porygon Z. We have to be able to summon our Porygon Z early in the game so that we can discard it quickly, so that we can use our Critical Arrow GX as fast as possible. But remember, Critical Arrow GX is a GX attack, meaning if you use that, you don't get to use any other GX attacks. You don't get to use Horror House, you don't get to use Pale Moon, you don't get to use Star Shield, you don't get to use Clear Vision. Clear Vision can be pretty handy sometimes, and if your opponent is stuck with 1 active Pokemon in play with no bench, if they only have 1 low HP Pokemon as their active Pokemon to start with, they can have a very bad start and end up with no cards to summon any other Pokemons, and end up with only a very weak basic Pokemon in play for the first 2 turns even. Only the first few turns is all we need, because the first turn we need to discard Gengar Mimikyu, the second turn we need to use Horror House, and then third turn we end the game with Poltergeist and they are done for. That basic Pokemon is knocked out, they have no more Pokemon in play, they have no more Pokemon on their battlefield, they lose the game. So Gengar Mimikyu can give us a quick win, but Gengar Mimikyu GX is very bad in pair with Hatterene, because Hatterene's Minehead allows your opponent to discard any trainer cards they have in their hand if they want to, because you're giving them the option of which card they have to discard. They have to discard 1 card, but they get to choose which card. So if they see your Gengar Mimikyu in your discard pile or in play, they're going to prepare for that. They're going to prepare for Poltergeist, because Poltergeist is only 2 energy costs, and after using your Critical Arrow GX or Horror House, you only need to attach an extra energy to use Poltergeist. That means they're gonna watch out for that. That means they're gonna look out for Poltergeist first before they look out for any other GX. Before they look out for any other attacks from your Mew GX, because that is the only attack you get to do after using your critical GX, except other than Star Search. Star Search is also a very good attack to use. Star Search allows you to search your deck for an energy card and attach it to one of your psychic Pokemon, and Hatterene is a fairy/psychic type, meaning you get to attach it to that one as well with Mewtwo's Perfection to land Jirachi GX's power of Star Search, meaning you get to search for a Horror Energy even, because as it said in the text, it says search your energy for an energy card, any energy card. You can even search for a Twin Energy or an Aurora Energy, or even as in this case in our deck, we have our Horror Energy to place an extra 2 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon if they damage our Pokemon and if it's attached to our active Pokemon. So sorry, if the Pokemon is attached to the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot. So that's the nitty gritty. And is damaged by an opponent's attack, put 2 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So those 2 damage counters actually add up, because if, for example, you do only 20 damage counters on a Zacian V with Dripping Grudge and you have a Horror Energy attached to it, they are gonna have to decide whether to knock out your Hatterene with Brave Blade, because if they do, they are gonna have to sacrifice their Zacian V as well, because Horror Energy damages their Zacian V for the last 20 damage for a knockout. So that is a double knockout for a double KO. So Horror Energy is very, very handy, and as we all know, with all Mewtwo Mew GXs, all Mewtwo Mew GX decks, we definitely need a Chaotic Swell, because we need to block all power plants. If they have any power plant in play, then they can block our Dedenne GX's ability, they can block Perfection ability, effectively disabling Mewtwo Mew from attacking with any other attack from other GX Pokemons. So no more lending the power from GX Pokemons. And no more DD change, no more Dance of Tribute, and no more other GX abilities. Psychic Zone. Psychic Zone can be pretty nifty as well. So Psychic Zone protects your Mewtwo Mew GX from Psychic Weakness. It does not protect Hatterene Dark Weakness, but it does protect your Mewtwo Mew GX. So sometimes it might be a good idea to put Jirachi onto your bench, but sometimes we might have to discard it because we don't have a Giovanni's Exile in this deck, meaning if we place anything into play, we'll have to wait for it to get knocked out before we can rely on it to add damage counters to our Dripping Grudge. And we also have a Munchlax and a Cleffa to allow us to, because these are no retreat cost Pokemons, which is very handy, because if they get placed in the first few turns, if you get to play it as your active Pokemon, then on your second turn you get to switch out to your Mewtwo Mew GX, you get to find it easily, switch out to your Mewtwo Mew GX, and immediately right off the bat attach an energy, immediately use critical error GX, and there you go, you get to attack. And then you get to set the ball rolling from there, and you get to, you know, it gets much smoother from there. So it's very, very handy to have a no retreat cost Pokemon as your active Pokemon to start with. And also the ability is very, very handy. Excitable Draw allows you to shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. As we know, in this deck we don't have any cards, we don't have any supporter cards or Pokemon's ability to shuffle our hand, meaning if we are stuck with 3 Dedenne GXs or more, or 2 Professor's Research and 2 Dedenne GXs, or even more of those cards, if we are stuck with that bad combos, then we don't have to sacrifice any Dedenne GXs or Professor's Research. We only need to use Excitable Draw to shuffle those back and then get back a better hand, so that we don't have to discard our extra Dedenne GXs and discard too many Professor's Research or Hapus. If you have a Hapu and Dedenne GX, the golden rule is always to use Hapu first, then use Dedenne GX, but obviously you can still be drawing 3 Dedenne GX in your hand on your turn. It's still possible to be stuck with 3 Dedenne GXs per turn at a turn. Then you'll have to think about sacrificing those 2 Dedenne GXs. And if you don't have a Cleffa in play, it's okay, you can still snack search for your Dedenne GX or any discarded supporter cards that you need. But the bad thing about these abilities, these pre-evolution Pokemon abilities, is that you end your turn after using the ability, and also you have to flip a coin for the ability to work. If you flip a Tails, the ability does not work. I'm sorry, but it's risky like that. So this deck is very risky. Not only the abilities are risky, we are also relying on a lot of discards. Discarding our hand, discarding our deck, meaning if we have to discard rare candies or great catchers or chaotic swells, that would be a bad thing. So if we discard a chaotic swell with Hapu because we have no choice but to, then that would be very bad for us, because Mew-Twins GX relies on chaotic swell. If it does not have a chaotic swell, then it cannot protect it from power plant. Also, this deck is very bad against Galarian Weezing. Galarian Weezing blocks all abilities, and we don't have a boss's order in this deck. So I would recommend switching a Great Catcher with a boss's order. But the reason I have a Great Catcher is because Great Catcher allows you to discard 2 cards from your hand in return for switching out one of their benched Pokemon GX or EX. So bad thing is you have to switch out a Pokemon GX if you are gonna be using this card. So if you use this card and if you discard 2 cards from your hand, obviously you're gonna discard 2 Pokemon cards. Then you have to pull out a benched Pokemon GX. And if they don't have any Dedenne GXs, if they don't have any low HP GX Pokemons, then you're gonna have to pull out a tag team Pokemon which you can't knock out with your Hatterene Dripping Grudge, because Dripping Grudge is not possible. It's not possible to knock out a VMAX or a tag team with Dripping Grudge with 1 hit. So boss's order is actually better, because boss's order allows you to, if they have a Crobat V Galarian Weezing formation, then boss's order allows you to switch out a Crobat V for a Galarian Weezing, effectively allowing you to use DD Change and Perfection. And then after using Critical Error, you don't have to use Perfection anymore. You can use Hatterene's Dripping Grudge turn after turn from there, because Hatterene has a high HP, 150 HP. Our Princess Bubblegum is pretty tough. So 150 HP, it doesn't get knocked out easily. Unless they are a dark type, we can't do anything about that. We don't have any weakness guard energy, we don't have any coating energy. Coating energy only works for steel type, and Hatterene is a psychic fairy type, is not a steel type, so we can't rely on protecting it from dark types, dark type weakness. And Dripping Grudge also it does damage counters, meaning we have to watch out for Metal Goggles, and Stealthy Hood doesn't work. So Stealthy Hood only protects it from abilities, meaning if you have Arctozolt or Blow Away Bomb or Detention Gas or Galarian Zigzagoon's ability, then Stealthy Hood works against those abilities. So if you have Hatterene's attack, because it's an attack, it still works against Stealthy Hood, but it does not work against Metal Goggles. So that is why we have 1 Tool Scrapper. If we end up discarding it with a Dedenne GX or a Professor's Research or a Hapu, we'll have to recycle that or revive that card with Snack Search. We have no other way of retrieving our Tool Scrapper, because Tool Scrapper is actually very important. If we end up discarding it in the first few turns early in the game, and because we have a Dedenne in the first few turns, if we end up having to discard it too early, and if they end up attaching Metal Goggles onto their Pokemon late in the game, and if they end up attaching to all of their Pokemons Metal Goggles, then we'll have to think about using Snack Search to retrieve our Tool Scrapper, because that is the only way we are going to be able to attack with Dripping Grudge. Otherwise, we are going to have to use our Mew to attack with Perfection's ability. So if they have Steel type with Metal Goggles, we'll have to use Mew or Tool Scrappers. If they have Galarian Weezing, it's better to have a Boss's Order. If they have Power Plant, it's better to use Chaotic Swell. And also this deck also have a Trevenant Dusknoir GX, allowing you to shuffle 2 cards from your opponent's hand back into their deck. So any 2 random cards, but you get to see what random cards those are. You know, they end up showing you. So Night Watch shuffles 2 cards from your opponent's hand back into their deck. Works well with Mind Hat ability. Sorry about that. Works well with Mind Hat ability, allowing you to discard a card from each player's hand. So if you have a reset stamp, even better. But we don't have a reset stamp in this deck because we are planning on using Dripping Grudge. So That is the side bonus of this deck. The side bonus is Mindhead. The Mindhead Night Watch combo is the side strategy of this deck. I would recommend replacing one card, maybe one Mimikyu or one Cleffa, replacing one of those cards, or even an Oricorio GX with another Trevenant Dusknoir GX, because that is actually a very handy card. Although it's 3 energy cost and they might have Crushing Hammers, you can still use Star Search to speed up your energy attachment and use your Night Watch in time to screw up their hand, because that is a huge advantage to you. If you destroy their hand, you destroy their gameplay by a lot. And then what else do I want to say? Right. The reason I don't have 2 Trevenant Dusknoir GX is because it's very heavy. Not heavy in terms of retreat cost, but heavy in terms of expensiveness. This card is very expensive. It cost me 18 packs to trade for it. So I had to trade 18 Vivid Voltage packs for one Trevenant Dusknoir GX. As you can see, it's not locked. It is a tradable card. It is not locked. As you can see, the number 1 here is white. So if it's a locked card, let me just show it here. If it's a locked card, there is a padlock on it. That means you draw it from a booster pack that you open in store, in the shop, in the online shop here. So if it's not locked, then the booster packs here. So if it's not locked, that means you actually had to trade for it, or maybe you bought it from and you enter the code in the gift shop, something like that. So I bought a few Mewtwo's. That is why I had one tradable. So I bought Mewtwo Mew GXs, and I bought packs to trade for Trevenant and Dusknoir, and obviously I don't have enough budget to get another Dusknoir Trevenant because it's very expensive. But I would recommend, if you have them, put 2 in this deck, because that would boost this deck, boost the efficiency of this deck by a lot, because it is very, very good to have Night Watch in this deck. And only 1 is not enough. That is why we have 2 of Porygon Z. So that's all for the explanation. I don't want to go on too long about this, but we also have a Mew, just in case, because we have a lot of options of Pokemon. We get to choose any Pokemon to have. That is why I add a Mew, just in case we need to protect our bench. Or we can even have we can even use the Psy Power attack to place damage counters on our Pokemon. If they have a lot of Sinistes, we can knock it out easily. And we also have Mimikyu to prevent them from healing their bench. If they have a Melolana, they can't heal their bench. But obviously, if they have a Nurse Joy, they can still heal their active Pokemon. And if they have Indeedee, they can also heal their active Pokemon. So enough talking. I just actually spent 22 minutes explaining that deck. So let's go for a game. Nope. Let me just check the recording. It's recording. Yep. So we just drew very well, but you never know how the game goes. So it's very, very good to draw a Mewtwo Mew as your active and a Hatterene as your bench on the first turn. And they are gonna use a Starmie GX. I think they are probably gonna use a Starmie GX. I'm not sure yet, but so Hapu Dedenne combo, very useful. We have to discard a Dedenne there, nothing we can do. Quick Ball is actually useless. Let's attach that one. Because Hatterene is also 2 energy retreat cost. So attaching it to a Hatterene is not bad. Let's discard our Gengar Mimikyu. Actually, Star Search would be better. Tag Purge. Let's get our Tag Purge, because that's a tag team right there. Tag Purge is very handy. Tag Purge protects you from tag team Pokemon's damage. It doesn't protect you from the effect, but it protects you from the damage. So we can't use anything right now. Let's just pass the turn because I want to be using critical error. I don't want to be using clear vision because bubble launcher is not that powerful. It does paralyze it, but they can't use it on the next turn, and I really want to be using my dripping grudge. Dripping grudge is more interesting to use than... Oh dear, I actually shouldn't have done that. Let's get a Didine. Let's just attach that one. I might actually use clear vision now. If I can't, yep. I'm gonna get a chaotic swell and maybe another hat. Oh no, I already have a hat. So I think I might be using clear vision. I can't discard this one. I should have placed the Dusk off. Yeah, because I don't want them to paralyze me. Your opponent's Pokemon is now paralyzed. So if they use Bubble Launcher, they get to paralyze and attack with a total of 250 for 2 turns. We have no switch cards, we have no Bird Keepers, so that would be very bad for us. And I can't find a way to discard my Porygon Z in time, so I'd rather use Clear Vision than Critical Error. Although I would much rather use Critical Error, I had no choice. Mellow and Lana. Okay, we get to use Tag Purge now. We can evolve to a Hatterene. I'm gonna save my Snack Search. Get another Didine. So we had 3 Didines in our bench. That's actually bad because we don't want to have too many Pokemons in play. So now we are mind-hatting them. We are making sure they have very few hands in play. So if we have a Trevenant Dusknoir, we can actually zero them. We can zero their hand, but we don't have it. We don't have it in our... I think it might actually be in our prize card. So let's use Tag Purge. No more Miraculous Duo because we just used Clear Vision. But that also means that they can't use Bubble Launcher anymore. No more GX attacks for both players. Big Catch. We're gonna Big Catch for some for 2 cards. I hope I get another Hatterene. I'm not gonna use Research, am I? If I use Research, I'm gonna reduce my card count by a lot. And I don't think I have any more Pokemon. Pokecoms is the only way, other than Munchlax, Pokecoms is the only way I can save, add cards into my deck, and I don't have any more Pokecoms. So I'm just gonna Tag Purge here. They're probably gonna Starmie me. Starmie is gonna attack, how much is that? 40 damage. So 40 damage, sorry, 80 damage for 3 energies. attach them to your bench Pokemon. So Bubble Launcher doesn't work anymore. Even if they have 1 extra energy attached to it, they can't use it anymore. No more Bubble Launcher. Splash Maker doesn't have extra card effects. It doesn't have extra energy effects. So max they can do is 150. They can heal, but they can't do more damage. Okay. We have a Hatterene but no rare candies. There we go, Attack Purge. They're trying to charge their Inteleon V now. To any of your... From your hand to your Pokemon... Wow, to any of your Pokemon in any way you like. And they attach it to Starmie, they didn't attach it to their Inteleon. I'm gonna Attack Purge again. Wait, hold on. I almost did that. Let's use Mind Hat. So we haven't used our Dripping Grudge. Just to count how many cards in our discard pile, we have 13 cards in our discard pile. Sorry, I think we have 2 Porygon Zs. Nope, 1 Porygon Z. So we have 13, 14 now. We have 14 cards in our discard pile. For a total of 140 damage with Dripping Grudge. 14 damage counters. There we go, Inteleon VMAX. 150. Abnormal overheating. We don't have a Dusknoir. If only we have a Trevenant Dusknoir GX, then we can shuffle back 2 every turn. Oh, they're gonna switch out. 80. Oh, they're gonna charge their Inteleon. Oh my goodness. That is scary. 160, 190. Let's use Mind Hat. I'm going to use 1 Hapu. Hatterene and Aura Energy. Let's hope we have a Trevenant. No Trevenant. So we can attack it once more and then use the damage counters to knock it out, hopefully. What are they gonna get? A Mellow and Lana. To heal again. If only we have a Trevenant Dusknoir. 60. So we're gonna retreat and attack. Hold on, we're not gonna do that. We should have actually attacked with Hatterene just now. I did a mistake. I should have attacked with Hatterene. So 13. 15, 13 plus 5, 18, 19. Plus 16. Abnormal overheating. Yep. So I had to reinstall this game because something was, technical issues. So that's why you had. This is my first burn. The first special condition, because I had to reinstall this software, re-download the PTCGO software due to technical difficulties. That is why you saw that pop-up box. So we can actually knock out the Inteleon V Max, and we actually won the game with the Hatterene. We won the game. We knocked out, I'm not sure what we knocked out, the first one that we knocked out, but we knocked out a Starmie, and now we knock out Inteleon VMAX. We don't need to do anything else. We just need to Dripping Grudge. 210. 21 damage counters with Dripping Grudge for the knockout. So, a Cremoran V. We knocked out a Cremoran V on our first attack. A Squirtle deck box. A Mew to start with, that's very good, but we don't have any cards to draw. So that's not good. No Hatterene GXs, no supporter cards, and no Clefars. So they are using the Whimsicott, the new Whimsicott that uses tool cards, discard tool cards from their Pokemons to do damage to our Pokemon, and it's a Psychic type. It's a Fairy / Psychic type / Poison type. It's no longer a Poison type, by the way. The new Dark type, the new Black Energy symbol, is both a Dark and Poison type. So for Sword and Shield, from Sword and Shield upwards, from Sword and Shield onwards, the purple energy symbolizes Psychic, Ghost, and Fairy type. There is no more Dragon and Fairy symbols. The pink and the Dragon symbol is no longer available. So that's not bad. But we have to watch out for this card because it does a lot of damage very quickly. So we still can't do our critical error, which is not good. No Star Search. So I think I'm gonna Cleffa because we don't have a good hand. We can't draw things. Okay. Draw 5 cards. Draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. Oh my god. That's like the best hand ever. Evolve. If they don't evolve, it's very unlikely that they are not able to evolve. Very standard deck. Very easy to play with. Like, it's so easy to play with this deck because you only have a stage 1 energy cost attack, and you only need to attach a lot of tool cards in your deck. With this to support it, it's very, very easy. Oh, they can't evolve. That's a huge surprise actually. So I'm gonna switch out my Mewtwo because I don't want it to get knocked out. I actually should have switched it out just now. Mine hat. Oh yay! Okay, good. Oh, still no evolution card. I think we're gonna Hapu first. For a BD, we have a Hatterene, so let's get that one. Let's just get an energy. We don't have Star Search. We can Pale Moon them, but I don't want to be using Pale Moon. By damage, I wonder if damage counter works. We have more than 6 in our discard pile, so we can actually attack with our Hatterene. So let's see if Dripping Grudge activates Lucky Egg. Oh, it doesn't. That's good, because it specifically says damage. If the Pokemon discard is attached to it, is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, not damage counter. So Dripping Grudge is damage counters. So that means they don't get to draw 3 extra cards, which would have given them the advantage they need. So they need only 3 tool cards. Oh no, they need 4 tool cards, which they already have. $40 extra damage. So that is very handy, because if it gets discarded, you place it, put it back into your hand instead of the discard pile. U-turn board and Whimsicott Flying Fury is actually a very good combo. So this card is actually very dangerous now. It's like the new one prize deck, which is very quick and easy to win. 250, just like that, knocked out our Mew-Twins GX. So let's save our Dedenne. Let's just get another Hatterene, because we don't need a Mewtwo anymore. We don't need to strike that much damage. We don't need critical error. All we need to do is knock out Whimsicott. So let's get another Hatterene the next turn. Let's mine hat right now. Tool Scrapper. they're probably not gonna attach 2 cards and pass the turn, but you never know. So how many energy cards do we have? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think I'm just gonna discard that one. Wait for a Pokemon card because we have 2 Hatterenes anyways, and they probably can't do much damage the next turn because they can't evolve unless they have, well, they can't actually attack the next turn unless they have a fast basic Pokemon that can do damage. Tool Scrapper, there we go. Tool Scrapper doesn't do anything to U-turn board because it gets placed back into their hand. We might actually win this game. So they don't have Cottonies. They need to use ordinary rods now. Yep, there we go, ordinary rod. And summon it with a quick ball, which they are probably gonna have at hand already. Or even a great ball. Or another Jirachi. There we go. A great catcher might actually help us now. We might actually have discarded the great catcher. Nope, we still have it. Oh, there we go. Great catcher. We have, let me count our discard pile Pokemons. 5, 6, 7, 12. Sorry, 12. And is that a supporter card? Yep, we have 12, which is not enough. So let's just mind head them. Let's just discard our Tool Scrapper. Oh, we can actually Tool Scrapper the air balloon. Oh well. Hapu. They just placed another one. Oh my god. That's just annoying. Porygon GX and Silverly GX. With a Jirachi to support as well. Fine Fury. I don't think they can actually knock us out. They can't knock us out. Oh, they can. They have 2 of these U-turn boards. But they might not be able to knock us out the next turn though. But there we go. We don't need Pokemon. But Great Catcher would be useful though. just in case they have crushing hammer. So 7 would actually knock us out. I'm not sure if I should get an air balloon or let's just get that one, because we might need some cards in our deck still. So how many can we do? I might actually use a great catcher now, which 17 damage counters. So we can use great catcher the next turn. Actually, if we use it now, it would be better. So let's use great catcher now. Oh, we should have used against the Oricorio. Oh well. Dripping Grudge. We might need that energy to retreat our DD. But I think we have an energy somewhere in the prize card or discard pile. So nothing, not to worry. 17, we actually need 4 more discards. But if they knock us out, we have 1, 2, and 3, 4. But we're gonna have to think of how to discard that extra 1, because Mind Head is not gonna work twice. But if they knock us out with Whimsicott, then we win the game, because we get to attack with second Hatterene. I don't think they can win now, because they can't attack with a Silverly GX, which is their only bet if they want to win the game. If they knock us out, we get to Hatterene for the win. Well played. I think they said well played. Oh dear, I don't know what they said. Yep, they said well played. We can actually check the log, the game log. We can't check the chat log. Okay, no chat log. Sorry guys. But I'm pretty sure they said well played. So that's all for this deck. We actually won against the Flying Fury, which I'm quite surprised, because that deck is very strong, and I think they don't have the evolution card. If they have the evolution card fast enough, if they do Flying Fury fast enough, then you know, we would have not survived, because they could have knocked out Mewtwo much earlier with their Flying Fury Whimsicott. So they actually had a really bad luck there, because they didn't draw Whimsicott in time. Even with Silverly GX already in play, so they had really bad luck. So but we didn't exactly have the perfect hand either, so it's actually quite it's not too unfair, if you know what I mean. So basically this deck features our Candy Crush deck, our Candy Crush card Hatterene with the Dripping Grudge attack, allowing you to place damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon according to the amount of Pokemon on your discard pile. So we are trying to pile up as many Pokemons there as possible to dump as many Pokemon cards as fast as possible. And as you saw, we try to use our critical error, but if we don't need to use it, which we did not in both those games, we didn't use our critical error because we didn't have to. I think in the first one we did, but on our second game we didn't have to, because they have low HP Pokemons. So we only need to rely on our Dedenne GXs and our Professor's Research and Hapu to discard enough to knock out the Whimsicott. We didn't even have to use those, we didn't even have to use supporter cards to get enough discards. But eventually we got enough discards. At the end of the game, we got enough discards to knock out a Dedenne GX even. And even an Oricorio GX, we realized it too late, but we get to knock out an Oricorio GX as well. So another good thing about this deck is that Mewtwo Mew GX gets to use any other Pokemon GX attacks as well. Meaning you get to use Tag Perch to protect you from other tag team Pokemons, but you only protect from damage though. You don't get to protect it from effects of attacks. For that you need a big Parasol or any other cards or abilities. And we also have Trevenant, Dusknoir GX, Nightwatch, very handy with the Mindhead ability. We also have Star Search, Jirachi, and we also have our Poltergeist. There we go. Which allows you to do 50 damage for each trainer cards in your 50x damage for each trainer card in your opponent's hand. And obviously abnormal overheating with 160 damage for 3 energy cost, but your Pokemon is burned. Also, it has the critical error attack, which allows you to discard 10 cards from your deck, adding 10 damage counters to your Dripping Grudge early in the game. And Spirit-Born Evolution also allows you to discard 3 extra cards from your hand if you need to, but we only have 1 of that because that's not actually good. It's not actually a good thing to be placing your Duskull on the bench unless you have to, which, as I explained earlier at the beginning of the video, is only safe to do at the very end of the game. If Duskull shows up when you have a few cards left in your deck and you can't use the Hatterene GX or Professor's Research to discard your hand, if you have any leftover cards, any leftover Pokemon cards in your hand that you can't discard because you can't use any more Hapus, Professor's Research, or the Hatterene GXs, otherwise you would be decking yourself out, then Duskull will be useful for that. And if Mindhead doesn't do enough discards for those leftover Pokemon cards in your hand, which won't be that much because you wouldn't have a lot of cards in your hand anyways, because after the Hatterene GX and after Professor's Research or after Hapus, you would only have a max of 7 cards in your hand, unless you're doing a lot of Hapus, back-to-back Hapus after you've used up all of your Hatterene GXs and Professor's Research, which would only add 2 cards to your hand every turn, and Mindhead actually reduces your hand by 1 card every turn, so you won't have that much cards in your hand at the end. And you also get to discard with Great Catcher as well, but as I keep saying, Great Catcher, you have to pull out a GX Pokemon and you have to watch out if they have only Tag Team GX Pokemon. It might not be a good idea to use Great Catcher because Dripping Grudge can't knock out a Tag Team GX Pokemon in 1 hit. It is not possible. So it might be wiser to not use a Great Catcher if they don't have the Hatterene GX or Oricorio GX on their bench. But if they have a low HP GX, even a Silverly GX as we saw just now, we only need to discard an extra 4 cards to knock out that Silverly GX. So Great Catcher actually works if they have a low HP GX Pokemon. If we can knock out that Pokemon, then we can go for it. But as in our last game, we actually can't knock out the Silverly GX because we only can do a max of 170 damage with our Dripping Grudge, 17 damage counters after using the Great Catcher. So that's not good. And after using the Mindhead. So that's all for this deck. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you find our videos interesting, and check out the description for any updates and any Pokemon TCG infos, and also any update to the deck list and our channel as well. So that's all, and keep playing, keep perfecting your strategies and your decks. Keep building original decks. You want to be building original decks. Don't follow any other standard decks. Even if you are using League Battle decks, add cards of your own, add your own flavor to it. Be creative, find new ways to play this game. Explore new cards. Like what I'm doing right now is actually exploring uncharted territories because I'm trying to make this Dripping Grudge attack work. You don't see a lot of decks using this attack. So not many decks try to go around this attack, try to make this attack work. It's quite difficult because Dripping Grudge only add 1 damage counter per Pokemon in your discard pile. So that's actually very, very tricky to you need to be quite you need to think quite hard to make that card work. And also it might actually be wiser to sometimes you don't need to add that much damage counters to your opponent's Pokemon. You don't need to attack them with that much damage counters. You only need to place enough per turn. So sometimes it might be wiser to have more Chivaran, Dusknoir, and more reset stems and less less Pokemon cards in your deck, it might actually be wiser to have more trainer cards and more Chivaran, Dusknoir GXs and more ways of getting out your energies to charge for Night Watch, because Night Watch Mindhead is actually better than Dripping Grudge. You don't actually need to be placing that much damage counters with Dripping Grudge, as long as you can do it fast enough and as long as you can hit them with at least 10 damage counters early in the game. So if you can have a Mimikyu, for example, maybe you can use a Mimikyu to stall them from healing and then hit 100 damage every turn. Then you can actually knock them out. You can knock out a VMAX even with only 2 or 3 turns. So you just need to be creative with it. So try to find a card that nobody uses and make it good. Then that would be very impressive, because nobody nobody is actually challenging themselves these days. I'm not being critical here, but you actually need to be challenging yourself. It's a good thing to challenge your mind. It's a good thing to force yourself to grow. So I'm trying to challenge myself. That's why I'm trying to force myself to find ways to work around this Dripping Grudge attack. So that is what I came up with. The Candy Crush deck is what I came up with. So challenge yourself and try to make your own original decks. Don't follow everyone else. And even if you are using League Battle decks, use it only to practice your gameplay, because gameplay is very important. Sometimes the tiny little decisions that you make during the game, it makes a huge difference, and it really challenges the mind as well. Whether you use a Didin GX or you use Professor's Research, whether you attach energy to the right Pokemon, or whether you choose not to attack sometimes, it really changes the entire game. So you really need to practice more with your gameplay. And sometimes the only way to do that is with League Battle decks, because League Battle decks allow you to gives you a fair chance of winning. Because otherwise, in standard format, you don't have a fair chance of winning if you make a simple deck to start with. If you want a fair chance at winning, then you need to go to the theme deck, the theme expansion, the theme format, to play any decks, preferably a Sun and Moon onward deck, because if you have a XY deck, then the chances are very low of you winning the game, because XY decks have very few supporter cards. As you can see here, the supporter cards to draw, the supporter cards is only 3, and we only have 1 roller skates, which you have to flip a coin for, which is not very good. So whereas with the Soaring Storms deck, you have Pidgeotos, you have Bug Catchers, Cynthia, you have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 supporter cards to draw cards, and you even have Pidgeotos and Alolan Grimer to draw cards as well. So it's very heavily the trainer cards are very heavily unmatched between XY and Sun and Moon onwards. So Sun and Moon actually still works against Sword and Shield. For example, the Unified Minds expansion deck, the Unified Minds theme deck is still very good to use against those strong Sword and Shield decks. So it really depends on which deck you use. But it's still, as long as you use Sun and Moon onwards, the chances are still pretty much balanced for theme format. So you can just go to the shop and buy any theme format decks and then practice your gameplay there. But sometimes the gameplay for each format is different because you have different cards. So for theme format, I keep saying expansion. For theme format, it's very different because it's very slow. The gameplay is very slow, and everyone can't. Both players don't have the choice of accelerating their gameplay with cards like the Didin GX, with cards like Marnies or things like that to speed your draw or to hamper your opponent. So you don't get to use cards like that. Whereas in the standard format, you have the option of using those cards. So and those cards when you use those cards and when you choose not to use those cards, or when you choose to discard those cards or whatever, It really makes a huge difference. So if you want to practice gameplay in the standard format, which is quite different from theme format, purchase a league battle deck and practice your gameplay. But always try to make your own original decks, because that is the only way you can challenge yourself, and we must keep challenging ourselves. Otherwise, we'll all become robots. You know, we don't want to become robots. We don't want to be. We don't want to become a drone. You know, because these days society is trying to make us conform. We don't want to conform. We want to be our own unique individual. We want to have our own artistry. We want to have our own personality. And to do that, we need to keep challenging ourselves. Come on, people, let's challenge ourselves. Because I keep seeing all those standard, very cliche decks when I'm up against standard decks. When I'm playing standard decks, when I'm playing the standard format in the versus ladder, I match with a lot of people using league battle decks, a lot of people using plain decks. You know, those decks that is not very creative, that you see a lot of people using. It's always the same. It's always the same ADPZ, always the same Pikachu Zekrom, always the same combos. Like they don't come up with their own. They don't come up with their own unique stuffs. It's just bland to see those decks. Flying Fury deck is actually quite interesting because I don't see a lot of that, but it's still pretty standard though. It's still pretty bland because you get all of the same cards. You have your supporting Oriko Rio GX, you have your supporting Didin GX, you're supporting Jirachi, your tool cards, and then you have your Whimsicott. That's it. The only creative thing that I saw that in my previous game that was added in the previous game was that they add the Silverly GX, which is a very good, which was a creative addition, because Silverly GX actually helps a lot. It adds. It allows you to draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand every turn. So that's actually a very nifty card to have in every deck actually. So I think I don't want to go on too long with this video. So that's all. Have a nice day and keep playing, keep having fun. If you lose, you gain experience. If you lose, that means you're gaining more. You know, you're gaining more knowledge and understanding more about the game, and that helps you win more games actually. So have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys!